recording this. I don't know if it tells me my hour count. Let me just see something really quick. Level 22. Yeah, I guess. Well, no, that's not right. That's just time of day.
That's just the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine. I mean, 22. I'm at like level 12, I think. So
Okay.
That tells me something.
Cool. Y'all want to get into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Hey, welcome to Quick Looks with the Casual Hour. My name is Bobby, and joining me for a quick look at Final Fantasy XVI is the entire casual crew. Chase and Johnny, how are you both doing?
Fantastic.
It's the last one. This is the Final Fantasy. It's right there in the title. They'll never make another one.
Time.
Yeah, well,
it's the Final Fantasy countdown.
It's the Final Fantasy ... for now.
I know that we have talked about Final Fantasy on our podcast a handful of times. This is my, I guess, third or maybe fourth Final Fantasy that I've played. This is I've put more time in this than I did 15, and I've only beaten 7 remake. So that's my approach to Final Fantasy.
You're a series veteran, is what you're saying.
At this point, yes.
Yeah. And Bobby, if you were curious, this is Final Fantasy 16. Developed by Square Enix Creative Business Unit 3, and published by Square Enix, and it came out on the PlayStation 5 on June 22nd of 2023. It is more of an action game than any Final Fantasy game previous, and that is maybe one of the most interesting things about it. And here we are, taking a look at it.
This is a very different Final Fantasy game, correct?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
I mean, 15 certainly got more into the action side as Square Enix started bringing in some more of that Kingdom Hearts feeling, unfortunately. Bringing some of the Kingdom Hearts mechanics and things into Final Fantasy, as well as lots of the other games that they were making. And then you see what was the other one that came out this year? Forspoken. I feel like there's some Forspoken energy in here. There's certainly some Final Fantasy VII remake energy in here, where they're trying to kind of find a new direction for this series.
Not really open world, which I'm totally fine with for this. And Bobby, how many hours are you into
I don't know. I mean, I think a decent amount. I'm level 22. I've got 2 icons unlocked at this time. I don't know if that matters much for anything, but yeah, that's
and those are the summons. Basically.
For sure.
So you start with Phoenix powers, and then I don't know what the second icon is that you get. But
you'll probably see a little bit of it tonight. Just to
looks like Shiva's there. Titan was there. The electricity Ramath is there. I assume Bahamut is there at some point.
I'm sure you'll meet all of the summons here somewhere. That somebody in the game says there's 8 of them, or there's like a prophecy that there's 8 of them.
Yeah, there's and you only can slot 2 at a time, I believe. Sorry, I was going to try and avoid like going to an area with story beats on it, but I won't progress that. I'll try and just find some enemies to show off some of the combat stuff. Sure. But yeah, while I got here, here's the trappings. You've got a map. The way that they do this, you've got a hub world here that we started off at called the Hideaway. We'll go back there near the end of the quick look. But it is not really an open world game. You've got these little areas that you can run out to and explore that has their own fast travel points in it. You can see unique areas to go to. So when you get into it, you can travel back and forth to it, and you are bouncing back to areas you've been before while still getting to do new ones. You've got your questing here where you have your main scenario and your completed quest, active quests. There are side quests, but man, they're something else. They're not great.
They don't sound very good.
Consumables, you've got that to work with. You've also got materials that you are able to craft new items with. You got curiosities, and you have key items. but you also have attributes that you don't get to like dump skill points into and upgrade. Like you just level and they all kind of go up. But over here on the right is where you have your icons or your summons, and within each one of those, you have icon abilities that you can go into and purchase or master, and then choose how you want to load that out. So you can have two abilities per icon.
Yeah, it feels a little bit like I mean, it's not quite as smooth of an action as a Bayonetta game or even like a God of War game, but there is, hey, you hold R2 and now you get some modified moves. These are your more special moves, and then you have a light attack, a heavy attack, or sorry, you have a melee attack and a ranged attack. That's what it is.
And a dash.
And a dash and an evasion. Like it is very much an action game. And numbers do pop off of enemies, so I guess that's all you need to call it an RPG these days.
Because it's really not much of one.
Yeah, I mean, you open those menus and you're equipping items, and I guess technically you're playing a role here, but it is not the turn-based or even an RPG
active time battle.
I did find it very hilarious when they introduced the concept of active time lore. Bobby, have you spent much time in the
it, baby,
just the codex?
Absolutely have.
When they fucking called it active time lore, I just cackled.
Boy, you're just murking those poor chocobos.
Fuck yeah, man! They looked at me the wrong way. Me and the dog, man, we're not having it.
So this was something I mentioned on our last podcast when we were all talking about this game. I feel like this was the worry when we saw the trailers. That they are very much pulling from the Game of Thrones school of the lore that's going on here and the aesthetics. And yes, there are the summons, and yes, there are chocobos. And at this point, I have still just seen the one Moogle ass. But for the most part, this really just does feel like, you're fighting dogs and some plant monsters and some kind of normal looking goblin things. And
I mean, they had the Marlboro.
Yeah.
Very beginning in the demo, which is a long running enemy. Have you encountered any cactars or cranberries or anything?
Yet. No, nothing yet there. I know what a cactar is. I don't know if I know what a conberry is. Johnny, can you help me out with what they look like?
The tonberry, he wears like a little monk outfit. He has a lantern.
No,
he's green.
Nothing there
he's
yet.
He's like a little lizard boy, and you're like, oh, I can fuck this guy up, and he goes, no, you absolutely can't. I will shank the hell out of you.
I will end your life. Yeah.
So this is kind of the flavor that you're going to see out and about whenever you are just in an overworld between side quests and between shit. You're going to see chocobos. You're going to see other, like, sometimes like imps, I guess you would call them. You might have certain like factions of other, because this is a big war game, right? Like multiple kingdoms are at it, very much as Chase called out Game of Thrones. So you might encounter some
very political intrigue shit. Yeah,
you might run into some people who are on opposing sides of this battle, but I find that it's still somewhat pretty peaceful for being a war-torn land. Like, you're just bouncing around and like, here I am fighting fucking chocobos. Like, there's a massive war taking place. But the combat, I think, is really compelling. Like, I've been chaining together. So if you look right now and I pull the left trigger, I've switched over and I got that visual cue on my guy of the green flash for this icon. And now I've got the fire one. So I can go back and forth really quick. And I might be chaining my abilities and then switch. So, like, for example, you all have this icon, abilities, what you start off with. You can do that dash you called out. So if I run up here, I can dash in. But if I switch over to this one, it probably won't work because of the size of these guys. But you have a grapple where I can basically pull. Like, I don't know if you saw me pull that bird down earlier, but I'll do it here. So now I can just pull this thing, well, when I'm close to it, right to me. And that's another ability. And then you can go into more of a multiple swing, which really is great for breaking down folks to staggering. Then I can just switch back over and go right into my other ability like so.
Yeah,
And
because those fire ones, those are usually much more powerful single enemy abilities. So being able to switch between those things on the fly seems like a really cool thing. And right now, I haven't gotten the second icon ability, so I have found combat to be a little dry, but that is really only because I have not unlocked more of the abilities to open up that repertoire and get more variety in there.
yeah, and then I mean, you can do stuff like this too, where you go into like kind of an alt mode and just really start fucking things up.
Just
Yeah,
making
that's
some
cool.
roasted chocobo right now.
Who wants some fried chicken?
So with a Final Fantasy game, one of the things that I find pretty important is the party. You know, you it's not just all about Cloud; it's about Tifa and Barrett and Red 13 and Yuffie and all those people. Here, you've got your dog.
Torgal. Who else do
Torgal.
you need?
I mean, Torgal's pretty great. I know at my part of the game, I have a third character that's hanging out with me. But it does seem like, and this is also typical for Final Fantasies, party members kind of come and go as the story progresses. But in this one, you're really only controlling Clive. You do have some D-pad commands that you can give Torgal, but for the most part, you're really just controlling Clive, and that's what this is.
Yeah, I mean,
how have you felt about that compared to something like even like Final Fantasy VII Remake, where you have a party of 3 and you can bounce between any of them and use their different skills?
I know that you all have a lot more to say about this than I do, but I'll just say that I really fell hard for the characters of 7, and it meant a lot to have people in my party with me that I did. And I don't want to say that this game feels lonely, but it does. And like, I don't know if that's intentional for some of the story elements. You know, we talked a little bit before we started recording about
for the specific journey that Clive is going on.
Yeah,
maybe.
for sure. So I don't know, man. Like, I think that it's missed for me, but I don't know how they would incorporate that here more than what they've done so far.
Yeah, I mean that is kind of how I'm feeling too. It's I think Clive, at least so far, has been a relatively boring protagonist, and I see how they're bringing in the icons, the summons to kind of be like party members of, oh, this is, you know, I can do my, you know, in Final Fantasy VII Remake, it would be, oh, Barrett can do these kinds of moves, Tifa can do these kinds of moves, and Cloud can do these kinds of moves. And in this, it's, well, you just switch up which summon you are, and now you can do the different kinds of moves with just one character. And that's nice from a combat perspective, but it does, as you said, it makes for kind of a lonely experience. It's you and this dog that doesn't talk. You know, it's not Red 13. So it is kind of just Clive going around, and there's something, I don't know. I didn't play a super ton of 15, but 15 was a road trip, and you had your bros with you the whole time, and they were always talking, and it just felt
cooking too,
like an adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even being able to switch to Prompto or the other guys whose are not Prompto, whose names I've forgotten, was kind of cool to be able to jump into those characters and play with them. This is Sid. Sid rules. I think Sid's great. Sid, I think Sid is the best character in this game so far.
Sid's very good. What I'm doing right now is I just loaded up an arcade challenge. And you can't have certain gear equipped, which I just put on different one here, but this is my first time doing one of these. Mm-hmm. So
it seems like it's just going back through the missions, because this is the mission I just did. So it's just, hey, do you want to go back and play that story piece again? And that's really rad. I think that's cool to be able to go back and see that, especially for something like a quick look. I know this is a weird edge case, but for us to be able to go back and say, you know, this is not spoilery because this is something earlier that we've all played. I think that's very cool.
Yeah, so I'll run through this. Like, obviously, you saw a little bit more of the late game abilities. I don't know if I have both my abilities here. Okay, so you don't get to choose some of your gear. It looks like maybe the rings. Chase, while I'm cruising through here, do you or Johnny want to talk to some of those accessibility things we called out on the show last night around the rings that you can equip to do things?
Yeah, I can do that because I was really excited about it. So the game starts you out with a few different rings, 4 different rings specifically, that you can slot in as just extra equipment. Those are also slots that you can put any piece of equipment you find. So you'll find things, oh, this ups your damage by 7, oh, this ups your defense by 10. But the ones that you get at the start are these more accessibility focused ones, where it's like the ring of helpful evasion or something like that, which just means Clive will auto dodge whenever possible, so you don't even have to worry about doing the dodges. There's another one that just lets you kind of keep mashing the square button, and the game will just handle doing cool combos and using all your different moves for you. And it's not something you need to use. In fact, I had a couple of them on and then turned them off, or took them off as I put on the stat growing ones. But it is a nice way to just say, hey, I just want to come in, maybe even I just want to come in this certain battle, and just, I don't want to deal with this enemy. He's got a really weird projectile that I can't seem to get the timing of. What if I just had the auto dodge on? And the game's like, yeah, it's fine. We don't care. You're here to experience a story and to have fun, and it just lets you do that. I think it's really cool. One I've been keeping on now, once you get Torgal in your party, and you've always got your dog friend now, they just give you another ring that says, hey, we do have these mechanics where you can switch between your consumables and your Torgal abilities. If you don't want to fuck with that, here's the ring that just lets Torgal do a bunch of cool shit on his own. You don't have to tell him to do anything. He'll just figure it out. I've been using that ring a lot, and I like it, except that Clive does all of his barks automatically.
Yes.
When Torgal is just going auto. So every fight is just, Torgal, get him. Great job, boy. Get him, Torgal. And I'm like, dude, you need to shut the fuck up. I'm glad Torgal is here doing the work, but I don't need to hear you talking about it.
Totally. So this is doing, it looks like I'm getting scored for each one of these encounters, or the legs that they're calling it. This is a neat mode. Like, this is cool. Like, I think this is an impressive way to gamify.
Add some replay value, maybe.
Yeah,
And
totally.
maybe it's even like a little Monster Huntery, where it's a way to grind gear
Yeah,
or materials. Totally. I could see that being the case too. Bobby, can you tell me a little bit about what you just did there, and also what's happening here with this kind of navigation? We talked about it a little bit on the podcast. We're not the biggest fans of the camera or the character movement. How have you kind of been feeling as you've continued to play it?
In combat, not having an issue at all. I think the camera's fine for me that way, but I am having a hell of a go whenever I have to move in the open world to do more shit. Like, I'm really struggling a bit with that. Not a great time whenever that comes around, for sure.
We tried to diagnose it a little bit in the podcast, and I think where we kind of landed was that because this game is so cinematic and there are so many cutscenes of such long length, which I don't mind. I'm actually kind of enjoying the cutscenes. But because you have so much cinema going on, when they give you control, they just kind of give you total control of the camera, and it makes for a very jittery experience when you're just touching the right thumbstick to move the camera. And when everything else feels so smooth, it's kind of jarring to get that much control, and it just, I don't know, it feels a little cheap in that section, especially compared to these other sections that feel very nicely directed.
Totally. I think that it can feel immersion breaking 100%, because then, like, I feel like I'm in this lush world where I want to look at all the like rolling landscapes and all the things that come with it, and then all of a sudden I'm reminded that I'm interacting with a game. And I know it's a fucking game. I'm not trying to like say like I have to be wooed the whole time, but I kind of I expect a little bit more.
Yeah, you'd expect a game like Final Fantasy to have a more intuitive camera.
I'll try and show it off here a little bit.
there's also a little too much overkill. Like you see, can you go back to that kind of ledge where it kind of wants you to go? Because then it starts to a little bit to your left there. So like, hey, here's the big glowing arrows of where you're supposed to go. And I don't really love that. It's nice that it's there and it goes, hey, we're going to let you automatically do the motion here. But there's also kind of an Assassin's Creed Eagle vision where you can just hold a button and it tells you, it like uses your animal instincts, it says, to tell you where to go. And then it's about to happen right here, but the game goes, oh, by the way, now that you have Torgal also does that because he's an actual animal who has the actual animal instinct. So they've kind of layered 3 mechanics that do the exact same thing of telling you where you're supposed to go at any one time. And also then they layer on, for the most part, here's just the waypoint of where you're supposed to go. And like, guys, I appreciate that you don't want me to get lost, but there's so much shit here that is in my face at any one time, and I can't look at the cool art that you've made because you keep drowning it out with all this other UI garbage.
Like here, I'll try and show it a little bit. So like, I want to look, like obviously I want to look over there. Like that's just fucking cool looking. So I'm going to start to move down here, and I move my camera over, but then it just doesn't kind of stay where like I'd want to see. I have to like fight with it, but like I'd want to kind of see this profile without me having to like force it here. Like let me, but then it's just like, okay, we're gonna move, and I'm fighting with it a lot. Like it's not great. And the other thing I'll call out, I don't know if I can do it here for system. Yeah, I think that I bumped my sensitivity up to 5 from 3 that it starts off by default. But let me back out of this here, and we're gonna quit arcade mode, and we'll go back. I'll just do a quick little tour of the hideaway, and we'll call it there. How about that?
Sounds good.
So at the hideaway, you have this. Is that a arete stone? Is that what they call that? Arete.
Arete.
Arete. Ah, thank you. You've got stage replay. You have the arcade mode, which we just did, and then you have the Hall of Virtue, which is a way to go in and actually just train, like figure out what will be the best way to min-max the flow of these abilities. You always have a blacksmith and a store here at the hideaway. And the one thing I'll call out, these upgrade as you unlock new shit in the game. So whenever I come here, there's going to be new items. So I can see this bastard sword. It's not nearly as powerful as the story sword that I have there. But if I had the bastard sword, I could then come over here to our blacksmith, and this is not swords. You can do other gear where you'll be able to take an item. You can see now there's a +1. So that bastard sword, if you do the +1, it requires the sword 1, but it requires the materials you would get. And you can see at the bottom the impact it will have. It's pretty straightforward. The best recommendation I can give anybody who's made it this far into our quick look, don't hold on to your currency or your materials. Upgrade your gear all the time. Like just
it looks like they
it.
give you plenty of stuff.
Yes, just always get the most best version of what you can have, and you'll come across like this Stormcry. There's a boss you find. You can probably guess who you have to fight to get the wind shard, but then you can bring that back and make a special sword. So you can have that there, and you can also go in and reinforce items if they're not story mode. So then I could come in here and do a bastard sword +2. We require bastard sword +1. That goes up to 130, and you can just kind of upgrade your shit that way. And if you come back out, you only have 3 items that you're really managing. So the currency to do that's not a ton. You've got a sword, a belt, and a cuff. That's it. And then down here, you've got your rings and your necklaces that do, and these all have other abilities. So this ring of timely assistance is one I've been using. It just gives me a little bit of a bigger dodge window if I need it. And then I'm using these are pre-order ones. It's the Kate Sith charm that gives you an increased gil, and this gives you an increased exp, which those are the only 2 I'm rocking with, man. It just helps out great.
Yeah.
So but here you'll encounter like a jukebox for the music, which the music is very good in this game. And you'll also get to do some lore stuff back here in the back. It's fine. I don't have.
I do like their period style jukebox. Can you go to what it's called?
Yes.
It's like the orca. It's like an orchestra type thing. What's it called? The orchestration. Orchestrion. Orchestrion.
Yes, Orchestrion.
That's pretty good.
I also like that right across from the Orchestrion is a fucking bard who's like, "Come on, man, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I'm over here. I got songs to sing, and you're playing the fucking jukebox. We got live music over here.
Why on earth would you do it? And let me actually see. I think I've probably unlocked a few more things, but if you come back up here, there's a guy hanging out at this
I also
table.
just love that they called the restaurant the Fat Chocobo. That's good.
That's pretty
That's good stuff.
Harpocrates is here. And then you view the tomes, and you can get this little thing where it will show you, you're talking about your adventures, and it will start to upgrade your wisdom to a different level. And here you get topics, you get lay of the
Can be
land.
old cutscenes. Yeah.
The other thing,
that's good info.
I do like this.
Time lore. Yeah. Active time lore.
So if you've ever watched an Amazon Prime video, they do something. If you pause whoever's on screen or whatever song is playing, it will tell you.
Right.
Which I don't know. Like,
it's kind of like the VH1, like the music videos where they'd have the pop-up facts. But
yeah,
just
pop-up video.
Yeah, pop-up video. Thank you. I think that's nice. I still think it's dumb that you called it active time lore, but
I mean,
yes.
it's dumb in the best way.
It is. I like it.
This is Final Fantasy XVI. I would argue, from what I've read, maybe the most divisive one yet when it comes to audiences, based off of where they've taken it, because it's very different. I think it might be Final Fantasy to me. Like, I don't know, like, who am I to say? I've got very little invested in the series as a whole, but the two of you have far more reverence with what this is, and I think both of you are enjoying it regardless of that.
Yeah, I mean, here's kind of where I'm at with it, and again, I'm early, so this opinion could evolve and change, but I certainly don't find it to be my favorite Final Fantasy game, and it's not using a lot of the mechanics and tropes and ideas that I appreciate in a Final Fantasy game, but it is so accessible and just easy to play that I think I will easily finish this game, where there are lots of other Final Fantasy games that I have liked better than this but didn't finish. And I you know what, there's something to be said about that. Hey, you made an easy, enjoyable game to play, and sometimes that's just enough.
And I mean, this is shorter, I think, significantly compared to other ones, right? This is like a 30 to 40 hour game.
I mean, it depends on how much time you waste on those pointless side quests.
Yeah. Not planning on doing a whole lot there. But I will say
I
also
saw some tweets from people who were like, "Oh, I finished this game in 4 days," and I'm sure those people are insane. But still, the fact that even the insane people can finish it within 4 days or so is, makes me feel like, yes, this is a game I can finish. I can get past and check off for 2023. Where something like Final Fantasy 15 that I was enjoying, never got to the end of that game. I don't even think I really got to the middle of that game.
I don't have any side quests to point out to this, but you can kind of see that symbol, that little one next to my story beat here. If you happen to come across a green side quest that has a plus symbol next to it, do those. That's going to get you something with lore or like a skill or an item worth getting. The ones that don't have that plus, you could kind of say, fuck it, I'm not going to worry about it. I would not waste my time if I were you all. Like, you get more XP doing what we just did here, and it takes far less time. So that's my recommendation on it. And for anybody who's curious, this is obviously only on PlayStation 5 at the time. It will be coming to PC at a later time. This quick look was captured on a PS5 in the favor performance mode. There is a favor quality or resolution, and that will let you get more of a 4K at 30. This is a 1440p at a 60 target. So if anybody's curious, that's what we've done here.
Bobby, can you do me one more favor before we head out? Can you just hit the X button real quick for me? They put a fucking jump button in Final Fantasy, and I don't know why.
It's he's very happy because I think that, like you saw earlier, there was maybe even this log here. Let's see what happens if I go to this log.
I mean, there are combos that you
it
can
just goes over
do.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, there are combos that you can do that require you to be in the air. There are some aerial enemies where maybe being able to jump is a useful thing, but like back when you saw the triple arrows on that one ledge, you don't jump up to that ledge. The game just automatically has you go over that or under something. The jump button feels completely extraneous except for the combat. I don't know why they why they have it in here. It's not bad. It's just another thing of what are you doing?
It's just another form of filler that this game does have a little bit of a bloat in some areas, but again, the highs and the story stuff that is happening, I find to be very fucking cool. And I mean, regardless of that, like I think the jump is, yes, there's stuff in combat, but it's why not just turn it on when you're in combat? I don't fucking know.
It's just kind of
naked
there.
ass chocobos.
That's a raptor, actually.
You can call them raptors, but that's just a naked chocobo.
Yeah, that's what they call me, the naked chocobo. Hey, you guys, this has been a ton of fun. I think just given the nature of like this being a story-focused game, we're not going to do a whole lot other than what we've done here. Check it out. This is a $70 game. It is on PlayStation only at the moment. There's some collector's editions out there for it. We've had a ton of fun playing this tonight with you all. Thanks for tuning in. And if you enjoy what we're doing, subscribe right here on our YouTube channel. We bring all of our other live streams, which we record on Twitch, twitch.tv/casual hour on Mondays, Fridays, and Wednesdays at 10:30 p.m. Central. We also post our podcast that we record every Friday morning wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you've enjoyed what we're doing here, YouTube's the right spot. We bring it all right there for you in a nice, tidy package. But what are your thoughts on this as a Final Fantasy game? Are you upset? Are you invested? Are you going to see it through? Do you find that they've made it more approachable? Let us know your thoughts. Johnny and Chase, it's been awesome hanging out with you. Thank you both for joining this quick look at Final Fantasy XVI.
Yeah, thank you, Bobby.
Thanks, Bobby.
All right. Thanks, dudes.